Hey everybody, how's it going? Right, I thought I'd do a mix breakdown of some pretty underrated, overlooked plugins. I've covered all of these before, but I'm going to go into a bit more detail and do a mix breakdown because this mix, I was sitting around on Saturday at the weekend and I thought, I want to make something really heavy. I had a big cup of coffee and I was ready to go. And I made something kind of over the top. Let's just dive in. For the drums, I'm using Drumforge Bergstrand. It sounds amazing. The UI is incredible. Except for one thing, it does crash. And my laptop is pretty good, 8th Gen i7 SSD drive. It handles a lot of things I throw at it. But I got through this session, with it only crashing once, and I was really ragging it. What I'm using is the Senseless preset, and the cool thing is about Bergstrand, you get a lot of options. Tons of different shells for the kicks, tons of different snares, and they all sound like incredible. The round robin, the humanization on these is second to none. It's a bit thin on the ground with cymbals, but the cymbals do sound great, no complaints. And the biggest thing about this plugin is the tweakability. It's just crazy. I mean, you can sort of individually shape the tone of any shell. It's got MIDI grooves, which is fantastic. And this is the kicker for me. This mixer window is just so fully featured. It's got everything you need, saturation control, compression for everything, EQ, clipping, reverb, different routing. It's just crazy. For this mix, I wanted some crazy sounds. So I've got a big fat kick drum sound, and I actually went with 2 kick drums layered together. The processing on them, pretty standard stuff, just some EQ and clipping. Just let you see those. Just such an easy interface to use. With the snare, I wanted it completely over the top. Loads of reverb, loads of impact. It's EQ'd like so. And I've clipped it pretty hard. The clipper on this sounds amazing. You can make anything sound pretty over the top. The reverb again, it's up pretty high. Just sounds huge. I'll just let you hear the drums on their own. So very, very reverby, very roomy. Works really well for this track. Overall, yeah, super underrated plugin. Sounds great. And these presets here are fantastic. Just load those up and, they're mix ready. They really are. And the only thing I've done is a little volume adjustment here. Just taking it down a few dB. And the next plugin I wanted to show is the Diode Amplifier by Viator DSP, or the Ignorant Diode Amplifier. This is the older version. It now has like a proper IR loader, as well as its built-in cab. But it's just such a good sounding amp sim plugin. I don't know if he was aiming it at metal guys, but it's got a really good modern metal sound. The mid-range on this is, very forward, and it's too much, really. But if you scoop it out, it just has an amazing sound for metal. I really, really like it. I'm just boosting it with the NA808. It's a free Tube Screamer plugin. Fantastic plugin. And then the EQ, nothing you haven't seen before. Pretty standard stuff. And it is pretty much exactly the same on the other side. I usually use a different cab, but obviously I've got the built-in cab here, and you can't change it on this version. But it doesn't bother me. It seems to sound great anyway. Sounds nice and wide. Another plugin I really like using that I haven't used it in a while. I don't know why, but every time I load it up, I'm like, damn, that sounds good. Is the SonEQ by Sonomus. It's, as you can see, it's like a Pultec or a vintage style EQ. They're definitely doing their own thing with this. It's not exactly like a Pultec, but a lot of the controls are very much the same. This mid control at 800 odd hertz is just perfect. Boost or cut there, and it just sounds magic any way you do it. Scoop it a little bit. I've got it scooped here for the rhythm guitars. Sounds great. And when you're boosting and attenuate a Pultec, props to Spectre Sound Studios, Glenn Fricker. He showed this trick and I thought it sounded great. It sort of smooths out the frequencies across the board. It scoops out some of those boxy, woody low mids, and it smooths out the high end and just makes your guitars sit in a mix better than they do without this. So if I just turn this off and play the rhythm guitars, you know, they sound great. They do sound good like that, but if I turn it on, just a little bit more scooped. They sit in the mix a little bit better. They're not quite as barky. The low mids are smoother. The low end is sort of more juicy and thick. I'm going to start using this more from now on. Really sounds good. And I've got this on the bus, by the way, so that both the guitars are going through this EQ. And then I'm going into Nova just for some compression on the low mids, you know, the Andy Sneap trick. And I've got, you know, the diode amplifier on the lead guitar as well. I've bumped the mids a bit more, turned the highs down, a bit more drive. Just an amazing sounding singing lead tone. Really, really like it. Chorus, just to get it nice and wide and washy, nice and wet sounding. EQ, nothing you haven't seen before, standard stuff. The DC1A3, this is a free vintage style compressor by Klanghelm. If you haven't got it, get it. It's amazing. It works really well on lead guitars, clean guitars. And the Nembrini Audio analog rack delay, a fantastic free delay, works really well with lead guitar. I've got a couple of bass drops here. This is originally in B, but because the key of the song I'm playing in A sharp, I've just taken it down a semitone. You can't really tell on the mix what tuning it is, but it's just a cool, you know, old metalcore, deathcore trick. Put a bass boom in there, give it more impact. Yeah, I'll just mute it and show you the difference. So this is without the bass drop. And this is with it. As you can hear, it just sort of slams the mix and gives it this big boomf, which for modern stuff sounds great. I mean, I wouldn't use that on any old school sound or a thrash song or something. That would just be completely out of place. And the bass guitar, nothing you haven't seen before. I broke this down in my last video, actually. Pretty standard stuff, using sort of different plugins than other people use, but yeah, I'm trying to achieve a very similar thing to what other people do. And that's about it. There's just my master chain. Covered this in my last video, and I have a whole video on this. I'll link it below. This is all tone shaping stuff. Stereo enhancer. Then level boosting. That's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Alright guys, since you've made it this far, I'm gonna plug some of my stuff. This is my side project, Habitual Slaughter! And this is the new EP, Feast for the Beast. Links down below if you want to hear some brutal, old school death metal. And there are links down there to my other music as well, so go over listen. Thanks for watching guys, I really appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see more metal related stuff. I'll be back sometime with a video on something else, so until then, ciao.